welcome to the show. I'm Tosh Taylor.
And I'm Jenna Moncton, and today we are going to have a fantastic conversation all about moving to a new place, making new friends, diving into a new world of work, all kinds of things that I know you are going to enjoy hearing about from our guest today, Rena Sammut. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Excellent.
I am really looking forward to this discussion for multiple reasons. Tosh is laughing
about it.
Yes, Tosh is laughing because she knows I love this topic.
Yeah.
But I'm also just really excited to have you here because I think we've really kind of met the first time when we did our influencer event over a year ago, and you just had so much energy when we were doing that. It was so fun.
Thank you. Yes, it was a really fun day, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was. And it kind of ties in with what we're talking about now and what you just did. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you landed in New Brunswick, and then what you're up to now.
Okay, so my name is Rena Sammut. My family and I moved to New Brunswick. We were from Toronto originally, born and raised, and we were so ready for a change. We've been ready for a change for a long time, but you kind of drag your feet thinking about what a big move it is to upheave your whole entire life and move to another province where you really don't know a single person. We did not know anybody here. But I was like, it's fine. I'm gonna make friends. I'm very friendly. I'll make friends with everyone. So we did that. We chose New Brunswick. We really love the East Coast. I actually lived in Newfoundland in my 20s. And I was like, I would love to move to the East Coast, but maybe not that east. So we were kind of like on the fence between New Brunswick and Nova Scotia, of course, and we really landed on New Brunswick because it is, Moncton specifically, because it is a hub city and it's easy to get home if we need to. So that's why we decided to come here. And I'm a very social person. So I'm in real estate. I was in real estate in Toronto, and I was in real estate here, and I realized quite quickly you don't really have a career unless you know people. Like, it's a people business, and I thought, oh my God, how am I going to get to know people in this province, in this area? How's anyone going to know me? So that's where everything kind of stemmed from, with doing social media, me familiarizing myself with the area and the restaurants and the local businesses. Really helped other people familiarize themselves with me because they'd see me all the time through social media. And people ask me, locals ask me, like, oh, where should I go for a good burger? I'm like, oh, well, I got the place for you. So it's kind of funny how that ended up happening. But so that's kind of like the story of why we came here and how I started kind of posting on social media at all. And then recently we had an event called the Hub City Coffee Collective, where it was an idea for a kind of daytime party for people in my demographic who like to still be social and party and meet new people and listen to really good music, but I want to be home for dinner and like in the bed watching reality TV just like everybody else. So it was a really good way to, and I mean, there's no events like it, so I said, well, I'm just gonna do it. So that's what we did.
I love
Fantastic.
that.
Yeah.
I think it's such a great idea. When you started posting about it, I was like, oh man, this is my kind of people.
Yeah. Home in bed by evening, but I still want to go out. You still want to go out and be social and do fun stuff for yourself, but not past 9.
Not past 9.
Not past 8.
9. Yeah. I was going to say 9 is way too late.
9 is way too late.
Especially in the winter. It's different in the summer.
Like by 6 in the winter for sure.
Yeah. So tell folks a little bit more about the Coffee Collective and what the event was and then what the vibe was like.
Yeah, so it was really fun. We weren't. So my partner,
I was going to say, you're saying we, so who's,
Stephanie Curie, she was my first friend here, and I came up with the idea, and she's like, that sounds great. I'm like, you need to help me, because everyone has a lot on their plate, right? So, and she's used to throwing events, so we decided to do it together. And what was the first part of the question?
What's the idea? For people who haven't been following you on social media, don't know what it is.
The whole idea is, it first started out as a party, but in a coffee shop. So it was alcohol free, essentially. But, just to go listen to music, dance, socialize, that sort of thing during the day. It's quick 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. You're in, you're out, you dance, you have fun, you go home. That was the whole idea in the beginning. Once we started seeing what other people were looking for, it kind of turned into a little bit of a networking event where people were coming and like introducing themselves, but also like talking about their ideas or their business and things like that. So that's the Hub City Coffee Collective. And I think from this original idea, we want to do more events in the city that are a little bit more niche for people who don't want to go to the bars and don't want to do any of that. So the original idea of Hub City Coffee Collective was also like a sober event.
Yeah.
No big bar tab, no hangover. If you have to work the next day, it's a lot easier on people to actually socialize in that aspect. So going forward, we have some really cool ideas for other events in the city that I think there's a gap missing. So I'm very excited, and there's going to be some cool ones coming up.
Okay. Can you give us any hints?
What
should we have on our calendar?
So, one of them, and someone brought it up to me, is like a dating event, like a speed dating event. So I think we're gonna try and do something like that for the city. If that's an idea that people want to do, let me know, because I don't personally know many, like my demographic is married with kids. So I know a lot of people that are married with kids. So if there are a lot of people like that, I would love to know about it and love to know the interest in that.
I think you would get a lot from what I'm hearing from like the 2 single friends I have too. It's the same, but people are kind of done with meeting people online, right? Everybody wants to get back out again. So get back out in the middle of the day and have a speed dating thing. I think that's brilliant.
Right, and it's less pressure than going on a first date, because you talk for like 5 minutes and then you can move on.
Exactly.
And all I keep hearing from my 2 friends is that the apps suck. Where can I go meet people? To where can I go meet single people?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, face to face, and like Jared, if it's done at a coffee shop again, if you keep that idea, it takes the pressure of the alcohol out of it as well, right?
Yeah.
So that's a brilliant idea to get people. However, some people might need to loosen up a bit.
little bit. Social lubricant. Yeah.
Caffeine is pretty good for that.
It's true. And you had this event at what is it called?
Factory.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Which Jenna and I like to frequent there. We like to do our business meetings there. But really, we're just going for
Quite
the coffee.
often leave here and
Yes. Yeah. Great sandwiches and stuff too. But how did you get them involved and on?
I
board?
just reached out to them on social media, and honestly, they were so accommodating. They were so lovely. So many people said it was the best espresso they ever had.
I believe it.
And they were so great. The manager there was so lovely and really accommodating and really wonderful.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a great thing about local businesses, eh? Like they do really get on board with sometimes harebrained ideas.
Yeah.
What is this? Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
well, I think they're ready for new things. The idea of someone coming in and saying, hey, I've got this great idea, I just need a spot, or I just need this one thing. I think there's so much appetite for that right now. And I think so much appetite for little events and things like this that are easy to come out to on, it was a Sunday afternoon, right?
That's right.
Like, come out for a couple hours. It's not, you don't need a formal gown to go to the ball.
It's
at
not
the
a huge
Delta. You
commitment,
don't-
right? You hop in, stay as long as you want, and leave.
And yeah, exactly. Maybe do a bit of networking. I thought that was a great idea, and I could tell from some of the people that I saw, because some of us have Sunday basketball with their kids and can't make it to these events. But for the people I saw, I was like, oh yeah, Emily's in there networking big time. Yeah, which is great because she's super fantastic at it, and it doesn't feel like that's what she's doing.
Right.
And there was a few people in there that I would like to personally connect with as well, right? So definitely going to be hitting up the next one for sure. Now, we only have a 23-minute show, and I know that there is a topic that Jenna also wants to touch on with Rena that kind of spawned this whole idea. There was, around the time you moved here, a very successful Facebook group for people moving to the Maritimes, and we found as of late that it's turned into a lot of people saying like, I'm thinking of moving back home. I don't,
Yeah.
you know, I'm not making friends easy here, what have you. Take it over, Jenna. I feel the same way she does, but she describes it much classier than I do.
Well, and I think so part of why this came out was because I did comment on someone had put a post specifically in that group, you know, sharing that sentiment, but it definitely wasn't the first time. And I think it's probably a little bit of what you felt that led you to do the coffee event too, this idea that, you know, Maritimers, we are so friendly. We love that we are so friendly. But as a Maritimer, I have said again and again and again to everyone I know, we are terrible at making friends and becoming friends because so many of us didn't ever leave and have to make friends as an adult. And I think those of us who have moved away and moved back have a better understanding of the work that it takes to make friends and to, you know, it's one thing to be welcoming and say, oh, that's great, I've got a new neighbor, that's wonderful, nice to see you, sure, I'll learn your name. But to take those extra steps of really inviting people into your existing circle, it's a lot of work to do that. And a lot of us who haven't lived in a different city as an adult, don't think that way.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really important that you're doing this event and things like this to help people find friends as an adult, because I think that's something that's so important if we want our community to thrive, if we want to have those connections to keep people here. Because they come because you loved the vibe, you loved, you know, being on the East Coast for a while, but visiting and living are so different.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. Like I was saying to you before, you know, I came here and I thought, well, it's going to be so easy to make friends. I'm very friendly, I'm very open, and I'm very nice to everyone. And people are going to love me. It's going to be totally fine. And, you know, even with my neighbors, I'd be like, hi, how's it going? They're like, okay, hi. Like, they're nice, but they're like, okay, lady, like, calm down. And like, to my surprise, I wasn't like booked every weekend with like all these people wanting to hang out. And I was like, that is shocking. But also, like, it's not that surprising when you think about it, because if I were in my home city and I met someone for the first time, I'd be very nice to them, but I wouldn't necessarily think like, oh, I should invite them here or I should do that. So it's not on the top of everyone's mind. Like, how can I make someone else feel included in something? So I think it's not, I think it's just like a normal reaction to things, right? But with so many people moving here, it's just something to think about and conscious of.
I still remember getting called out for it in grade 12. We had an exchange student. We had 3 exchange students that year. And we were sitting there one day and we were talking about things we were going to do on the weekend. And I considered this girl a friend, but she actually had to stop to like, ask me to come with you. Like just those little steps that you just don't think, because if you grow up with people or you get very comfortable with a group of people, you kind of automatically maybe invite yourself along, or you don't stop and say, would you like to come with me? And we need to all do that a little bit more, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Yeah, and you and I both married Riverview guys who still hang out with the guys they went to high school with. So it's unless you can infiltrate the wives of them, it's an interesting thing, because you're right, they never left. Well, Alex did leave, but he came back and fit right back into the
The others came out.
Yeah, and they just all got back together. So it is such an interesting thing. I moved here young, like I was only 22, and I kind of just folded right into a ready-made group of friends. And also, being 22 and being 42 are two very different times in your lives, especially once kids come into the mix, trying to make friends and keep friends and have people understand how hard it is to keep friends because you're so busy going to basketball every Sunday, or, you know, whatever your kids are up to. You need people that are going to understand that I can't do this. I live, you know, in an ice rink right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
People that are in the same spot of life as you.
To find friends whose the kids can be friends and the moms can be friends and the dads can be friends, that's like top tier.
It is. Yeah. You just stop there.
Yeah.
No, you have hit the
But still
unicorn
invite
jackpot.
others.
Find other ones that fit. Yeah.
But that's the, I think once you find those people, then you're kind of set. And it's so hard to open up to others, just not because you don't want to, just because you don't think of it the same way. And I think too, if you're someone who's, in your 30s and your 40s, you've moved here, if you don't have kids that are in sports, if you don't have those other things to help you make connections, you're not athletic and you're not joining the running club to go out, something like a coffee collective that meets every now and then, it's not that you have to buy a membership, it's just these events pop up that you can go to, is such a low barrier way for people to get out and meet each other. And I think it's just so exciting.
I love that you said that. Thank you.
So can I ask you and your family, you guys, did you move during the pandemic or right after?
No, 2 years ago, 2023.
Only 2?
Yeah.
Wow, I feel like I've known you forever.
I know. You've seen me a lot.
You really did make an impact.
Yeah, we moved February 2023. So
Okay, so everything was open back up. So
Yep.
okay, good. Because I know for a lot of people, they came during that rush. And that was a major part of them not being able to make friends is because we were isolated. So how do you get out of your house and you're in a new place? How do you get to know it? And how do you, now that things are, knock on wood, back to normal or the new normal, now you have these events that are popping back up. But I think that a lot of people got out of that groove too, right? Because it was so long of not being able to do things. I feel like Moncton was a pretty happening city at one point.
Depends on what your interests are. I've had a love-hate relationship with the event scene in Moncton over the years.
That's true.
That I think I've talked about before, and I would happily talking about again. But I think, it's that idea of like, what point of your life you're at when you come into the city, and what is the city doing at that point in time? When I was here at a younger age, there was a very particular kind of vibe. The city was still a little bit of rough around the edges, maybe, on certain things. And my situation was very different, where I would have loved an afternoon event because I worked early morning shifts at the radio. And so it's like, oh, my day is done at noon. I need to be in bed by 8.
I need something to fit between this time and this time. That's it.
And there wasn't a lot happening in those hours that that you could feel like, oh, I can go to this on my own because I don't know people yet.
And I think too, like when you get older, a little bit older, you don't really want to like push yourself past your own boundaries anymore. Like I know that if I go out after 8 p.m., then I'm going to feel like crap the next day. I'm going to be tired. But when you're a little bit younger, you're like, whatever, I'll just go out and it's fine. But when you're a little bit older, you keep those boundaries to yourself. So this is a good way to kind of fit into that.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Can I ask how your husband is adjusting to being here? Has he found a circle of friends?
So he's very friendly as well. He's very good at making friends, but he's also like very tight knit with our old friends back home as well. So he has made friends, but I think, it's difficult for everybody.
Sometimes I think men are worse, right?
Like I'm definitely, like if there were 2 of us like me, it's too much, right? So there has to be some balance there. There has to be balance. So I'm the blah one.
I met somebody yesterday who had also recently moved down from Toronto, and we got chatting because she said that she would go to a beach near where I grew up, and I was like, oh, you know where Elmville is then? She was like, I do. Anyway, she says that her husband he was able to get right into the swing of things because he plays in men's basketball league.
I was just gonna say sports.
Yeah, sports. So he was able to wean right into it. And she is the one that's been having a hard time. And I vibe from her, and maybe I'm incorrect, but I think was feeling a bit guilty that she was the one that was, because she was the one that wanted to move out here because her family was from here and et cetera. So it's good to at least one of you can get out, and then you can make the connections for the other one as well.
That's
right?
usually the way that it goes. Right? Like one person. Typically though.
Get dressed, we're going.
Exactly.
Do you have these kind of conversations with people who are moving that you deal with through real estate?
So funny enough, I haven't had a lot of clients moving from Ontario to New Brunswick. I've been dealing with a lot of people who are already here, who I met through my videos or who have reached out to me on Facebook or whatever. So I haven't talked to a lot of people who are just moving here, but I've talked to a lot of people who are fairly new here. I've met a lot of Ontario moms because of the Ontario Moms Facebook group, and they all seem to find each other. And I think that's really cool too, that they can find each other and make their own little friend group.
Yeah, I didn't even know there was an Ontario on Facebook.
There is.
Yeah, just like, what, now I'm going to go join it?
Yeah.
No, I've been here forever. I know. I feel as someone when I first moved here called me a come from away. And I was like, that's the coolest thing I've ever heard. Yeah, I loved it.
I love it.
But I feel like I'm no longer a come from away. It's been 20 years. You've stuck with me.
Yeah.
Here I am. Yeah. No, I think what you're doing is fantastic. I think how you jumped right in with 2 feet is absolutely incredible. Like I said, I had no idea it's only been 2 years that you've been here. And I also am curious about the housing market a little, because I hear that is it slowing down a bit for people moving here?
Yeah, I think that there was kind of like that rush that everyone kind of was talking about during COVID. I didn't experience that here. I experienced it in Ontario, and it was very much the same. There was a huge rush of just people buying anyways. But here, I don't see as many people moving from Ontario, but there's a lot of activity in the market right now for January. It was one of the busiest Januaries in a long time.
Yeah, I was looking at a graph the other day, and like it was like you could see the big jump and then kind of a plateau, and then it was jumping again. And
Yeah.
I actually had like unsolicited like flyer in my door.
No way.
We'd love to help you sell your house. I'm like,
No, thank you.
why are you out here? And then actually I looked online. I was like, oh, there's not a lot in my area that's listed. So
Really?
it's like, sorry, I'm not calling you back because we're not moving. So, but it's a very interesting time, I would think, to be in real estate.
It is, yeah. It is an interesting time, and like I love real estate. I feel like I wish I got into it 20 years ago. It's such a passion of mine because I love helping people. I love helping people with the big decision in their life, but I also love the architecture, and I love looking at different styles of homes, and you kind of get a window into someone's life when you're helping them with such a big thing, and you feel like you become best friends for that time, and then they just leave you and buy a house and move on, and I'm like, okay. So I really love the connections that I make with people in doing that.
Speaking of the architecture, there's got to be a few houses in Moncton that you've just been, like, especially like the older, the East Coast. These are the first houses.
Yeah.
Like I can imagine what some of the St. John houses look like inside, but some of the houses in Moncton, especially downtown Moncton, from the outside they're incredible.
Yeah.
So I can't even fathom what the inside of them looks like.
Yeah, so there's been some pretty incredible architecture, and there's been a lot of like surprise too when you walk in a house and you don't expect to see what you see, and you're like, wow, look at this, or look what they've done, or I love what they've done here. So that's always a fun part of the job.
I'm super nosy, so I would love it. Yeah.
Right?
I look at so many real estate listings. We've been in our house over 15 years and we're not moving. And I'm on there like once a week.
What do they do with the cushion there? Oh, that looks nice together.
So we have come to the end of our time for today. So before we let you go, though, people need to know how to reach you if they're looking for real estate, or if they're looking for coffee or friendship.
Yes. Okay. So please, I have TikTok and an Instagram at rena.realestate. I also have an Instagram for the Hub City Coffee Collective. We're actually changing the name, so it's going to be at Hub City Collective on Instagram, or rena.realestate on Instagram or TikTok.
Excellent. Fantastic.
Yeah, even if you're not looking to buy or sell, she is amazing. And if you're nosy like me, you get the inside look into some things as well, or you can just have fun.
Yes.
So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. This was so fun.
Yeah. This was fantastic. Thank you for listening and watching, and we will be back again next week with a new episode.